Well, looks like you asked this question yesterday. Who you think anyone's got the courage to run straight to Unalakleet? And I believe I said Brandington, probably, maybe, if anyone. And yep, he did it. He went 82 straight miles in 10 hours and 5 minutes. Is a pretty fast run for given how long it is, right? That's a very long run, but he did it in a good amount of time. Richie Deal and Pete Kaiser are doing the other option, which is camping 15 to 20 miles outside of Unalakleet, and then they're going to mush through the checkpoint and go all the way to Shaktoolik, likely. And then from Shaktoolik, you might see them kind of go break up the run from Shaktoolik to White Mountain into two runs, is what I'm guessing that those Bethel boys are going to be doing. So camping somewhere between Koyuk and Elam, and then rushing to White Mountain. And then you're seeing a huge shakeup in all the mushers behind the leading pack. You got the shake and bake Pete Kaiser, Richie Deal, but then now we got Jesse Holmes. His race is essentially over. He's
Why do you say that?
because he's at mile 678. Uh, he left Caltag after a 5 or 6 hour rest, which, for the front runners is plenty. And so he only ran 27 miles, 26 miles, and now he's been not moving all night. And so this is definitely an unplanned stop. So you're gonna see him, you might see him just out there hanging out for, a while. And there's two options to me here. One of them is gonna be that he just sits and waits. Maybe he kind of gets his way to Unalakleet and kind of waits for the back of the race and until Jason Mackey shows up, and then he does what he did a couple years ago, and he mushed with Lance to the finish line and 30th place. And I think that's what you might see him do this year, or maybe he'll end up just getting mushing back to Caltag, or getting the Unalakleet um, and and scratching. Uh, so
Oh,
yeah,
you
he
think you're gonna
go
think that he might actually scratch?
Yeah, just depends on I don't know. All I know is for it could be enough to scratch it, but like if someone like Martin Boozer or uh Jesse Holmes from a couple years ago, sometimes and they know their team's slowed down. They know they need to get them some rest and get them some recovery time. And sometimes you can just give them another 24-hour rest, for example, and then they're starting to feel better. They run a little faster, and it's all good, and you can continue down the trail. But maybe they have themselves a stomach ache, or a shift in attitude or something, and he's just gonna doesn't want to. He wants to keep it a positive experience for the dogs, so might end up, yeah, going home. We'll see. We'll see what happens with Jesse, but obviously things aren't going well for him in the Portage.
Sure. Let me also ask. So Ryan just did a 10-hour run. Realistically, what kind of break does he need before he heads off to Shaktoolik?
I mean, I would think that he could just wait until the Pete Kaiser and Richie Deal come through uniquely, and then he can get ready to go because uh, he, I don't know. There's a shelter cabin that's like just before you get to the sea ice. Which, by the way, I'm hearing about the sea ice from through a friend that maybe conditions are a little shaky out there because of the warm weather. They might end up having to change that route to like the B plan trail, which is overland and it's 10 or 15 miles longer. That could be a huge factor. I don't really, I just kind of whispers and murmurs that I'm hearing here, but um, we'll see how that Shaktoolik to Koyuk run ends up being. As of now, it looks like Pete Kaiser's starting to move after he took about a almost 4 hour rest on the trail. Uh, but yeah, Ryan Reddington, kind of an interesting, you know, he could continue making big moves
Do you,
and
do you think that he will be
to,
reactive or just run his own race? I mean, he's in the lead right now. He doesn't necessarily need to wait for like he could just take his 5 hours here after a 10-hour run, right? Is that not a reasonable amount of rest? Do you think that they realistically could use more than that?
I think that'd be a real. I mean, yeah, the more you can get the more rest you can get to a degree, the better. So yeah, I would say he got there at 4:20. Maybe he'll leave in an hour or two,
So, and
and,
then it's a
and th
50 mile run. So if 5 hours off of an 8 hour run, he can
so
realistically get to
40.
Shaq. Oh, excuse me, 40 mile. So then he can just go straight to Shaq Tulik. You don't see him stopping.
Oh, definitely is going at least to Shaq too. Like, yeah, it's a 40-mile run. That's a short run for these guys, and you might
Even off
see
a ten
him.
hour run.
Yeah, yeah, I would think so. We're gonna see how that 10-hour run. If there's any weather or anything, you might see, Pete Kaiser with a little bit more rested team, and Richie, maybe their team can be stronger through some weather. But honestly, Ryan's team's looking really good as far as their run times go. But yeah, this is where as a run musher, you're trying to find that line of keeping your team's speed, being aggressive but not too aggressive, make, giving them rest but not too much rest. And so, yeah, that's that magic that, we'll see if Ryan can find it. And yeah, I don't know how he's going to break up the rest of his race to go to White Mountain, but it should be interesting to see how the strategy checks out. And then, look, I mean, now our fourth place musher is Matt Hall. Wade Mars right behind him, the Iron Wade, dude. He gets to the coast, and this man's a monster. So watch out for those two boys that are going to creep it into the picture. And they're still at least a half a run behind the front of the pack. But it's kind of cool to see a little bit of a change there. Wade Mars taking his 24 and Iditarod, a pretty bold strategy, and it looks like it's working out for him. And Matt Hall, he's kind of just been lurking back there, and here he is now in fourth place. So it's exciting for those guys to be running that good of a race.
That's a bold
And
strategy, Cotton, don't you think?
cool. Yeah. Um,
I'm also you hit on this yesterday, but Hunter Keefe, man, he as much as I'm a fan of Eddie, having just met him and such, uh, Hunter Keefe is killing it, man. I think I was looking, the last four checkpoints, from checkpoint to checkpoint, he has been in the top three, I think, for fastest runs to each of those checkpoints. And so I think that the rookie of the year, Eddie was looking pretty strong there for a while, but I think I saw on Twitter that he's still really struggling with some sleep deprivation issues, and so the way he's kind of fading a little bit, at least not his dogs, I wouldn't say, but him, and then the way Hunter's dogs are just staying strong, man. I really wouldn't be surprised if he ends up pulling away with that.
yeah, I mean, I think Eddie's still in the lead there for rookie of the year, although Hunter Keefe has passed him. He camped about a mile ahead, but uh, you know, Eddie's left that checkpoint with a little bit of a lead, so he's still clinging on to that. And once the sun comes up, that sleep deprivation it sucks when you're running through the middle of the night. But once it's noon and you kind of start to your rhythm kind of changes a little bit. But yeah, everybody's passing out on the sled between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. In this group of people that haven't really slept at all since their 8 hour rest. So
So
yeah, Jesse Holmes is moving right now. By the way, he just started moving 7.8 miles an hour. That's a good speed. So I think he's gonna make his way to Unilacleat and just kind of chill out a little bit. And maybe his team's after a nice long rest out on the trail and a short run. Maybe his team's feeling up for it. Maybe not. I don't know. you can all I see is a little tracker moving down the trail, so I can only guess. But I may maybe me saying that he's gonna scratch is a little much of a comment, but I think uh, it's good to see that he's moving after having a kind of this slow last 60 miles of running have been pretty slow.
Definitely, definitely. And I know that we're trying to keep this on the shorter side of things. Did you have anything else you wanted to mention before we wrap things up?
There's so much I want to talk about, but I got to go to work.
Yeah, I understand, man. All right. Well, we can save that for round two later this evening. And yeah, this is about to get exciting. Sean has told me over the years that the real race starts when it gets to the coast. We've got one musher there with about nine or so more sniffing the trail right behind him. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes up. The three Alaska-born mushers at the top of the race is pretty crazy to see. I know that makes people in Alaska happy, and we'll continue to watch and give you guys updates along the way.